People who grew up in the late 1970s don't process the world the same way people do today. They're not loud about their emotions. They don't chase attention, and they don't panic easily. They grew up during a time when life moved slower, rules were fewer, and emotional survival depended on self-control. Psychology shows that growing up in the late 1970s created a generation that learned independence, resilience, and emotional regulation before those words were ever popular. Kids in the late 1970s were given freedom early. They walked alone, played without supervision, solved problems without constant help. This created internal authority. Instead of waiting to be told what to do, they learned to trust their own judgment. That's why people from this era don't need constant reassurance and feel comfortable being on their own. There was no nonstop stimulation, no phones, no scrolling, no instant entertainment. Boredom forced the brain to adapt. Psychologically, boredom builds creativity, focus, emotional tolerance. That's why many people from this generation can sit in silence without feeling anxious. Mental health language wasn't common. Feelings weren't constantly discussed or analyzed. People felt emotions and still had to function. This trained emotional endurance. They learned you can feel discomfort and still move forward. Trust wasn't emotional, it was behavioral. People proved reliability through consistency, not words. This created low-drama relationships, quiet loyalty, strong boundaries. That's why this generation values actions more than promises. The late 1970s were a time of cultural change. People learned to question systems. Without outrage, they developed skepticism, not rebellion. This makes them slow to follow trends and resistant to emotional manipulation. Privacy wasn't suspicious. You didn't explain everything. You didn't perform your life. Psychologically, this created strong inner identity, low validation need, comfort with solitude. There were fewer escape options. No instant distraction. No emotional outsourcing. People developed internal coping systems. They learned to sit with uncertainty without falling apart. People from this era don't rush emotional closeness. They value stability over excitement, consistency over intensity, respect over attention. They love quietly, but deeply. People who grew up in the late 1970s may seem reserved or distant, but psychologically, they're often grounded, resilient, and emotionally steady. They don't need chaos to feel alive. They don't need noise to feel important. They learned early that strength doesn't shout, it lasts. If this helped you understand people better, like the video and subscribe to Clearway for Psychology Explained Simply.